How are Russian police compared to American police? Let's play a little game. In which country, America or Russia, is the answer in each of these questions. In which country are you more likely to be pew-pewed? Yeah, America. In which country are you more likely to be tased or have the living snot beat out of you? Yeah, America. In which country are you more likely to get out of a situation by paying a, shall we call it, on-the-spot fine? Okay, that one's Russia. And I've never had to deal with that. I did have a friend that had to pay about $50 or something, and it's not as common as it used to be. It is illegal. It's not like the old days, and it's usually for small things. It's even in the movies. They're breaking it down. Anyways, but I'd still rather have that than in the US. Now, I've been out of the US for about 25 years, so I can only speak to my experience in Russia and my experience in the US from 25 years ago. But from having friends and family in the US and their experience, it hasn't gotten better. And I have a good friend that I went to high school as a police officer. I have some other friends, police officers. I even have somebody in the family that's a police officer. So you get bad police officers in both countries. It just happens. I'm not trying to say all police officers are bad in either one. But in my experience in the US, police officers are bigger dicks. They're really generally just looking to bust your balls for something. If they have to pull you over, oh my God, I took the effort to pull you over, they're gonna find something to do. I once had police try and plant drugs on my vehicle in Texas. And like 2 months later, the FBI came in and arrested the whole sheriff's department. In Russia, I've never had a problem. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't happen because Russians will come in the comments and tell you about their stories. But I can tell you that the comments that Russians are gonna come in and the stories they're gonna tell you about their experience with the police pales in comparison to the experience many Americans, I would say more Americans have had with the police than with Russians. Russians like to complain about things that they don't even understand what it's like in other countries. They're like, oh my gosh, that subway station is so dirty. I saw like a gum wrapper on the floor. Meanwhile, New York City has rats falling off the ceilings and people pooping in the subway cars. But if they've never been to America, they don't know. So go ahead, put your comments down there. The problem is we're gonna get a bunch of people commenting how bad Russia is who have never been to Russia, pretending to be Russians, and probably vice versa. But because it's cool to dump on Russia right now, it's gonna be mostly people pretending to be Russian who aren't. I've only had a few experiences with the police here. One was today. I posted about it earlier today, and it was fine. They didn't give me any trouble. Even if I hadn't had my unicorn document, I don't expect any problems. I know a lot of foreigners here who have had encounters with the police, and they've generally been fine. I've only heard of one friend who went to Moscow, and they kind of shook him down for about 50 bucks. And I was actually kind of surprised. I mean, the other day, actually this was last year, somebody stole somebody's phone. They were walking down the street and picked it out of their pocket. And the transit police chased the guy down on foot. They take even petty crime seriously here, which makes a big deal to overall crime. And again, I'm not trying to dump on all police in the US, but you just have to look at the headlines and how many pew-pew incidents there are. In the US, they are trained to pew-pew first and ask questions later. And I know everybody has a pew-pew, and they're like, oh, I thought he had a pew-pew, but it's out of hand. Even compared to Western Europe, it's so far out of hand. I know that when I lived in the United States, if I didn't need to talk to a police officer, I didn't. I'm not saying I never would go ask for one for directions, but generally it would be my last resort. Here, no, I'll go up and talk to a police officer. I need something. If it's just directions, or I don't know where something is, or if I can't find them, no problem. In the US, I would purposely avoid police officers because I know of all my past interactions with them. And I was always very polite, but generally they were always looking for something. And yes, most of my interactions in the US were being pulled over while driving a car. So maybe that has something to do with it. But at least personally, I would much rather take my chances with a police officer here in Russia than I would in the United States any day, especially because of the pew-pew problem of likely getting